Are you looking to rank better online, get more customers, maybe from the search engines, Google, such? If so, you're in the right place. We're going to take several videos and break down different aspects of search engine optimization so that you can jump in, understand what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be worrying about, what matters, what doesn't matter. There's a ton of people out there that are willing to just take your money and give you nothing in return. Now, I am the author of the Small Business Big Visibility book, Local SEO Made Easy. It's part of the Small Business Big Visibility education umbrella, just like this podcast is a Small Business Big Visibility podcast. Now, within this book, Local SEO Made Easy, we go through and we're breaking it down into very easy bite-sized pieces, and I'm going to share some of that with you today. So today we're talking about one aspect in particular, and that aspect is tracking your data. Now, in the world of SEO, I've seen all kinds of extremes. There's some people who don't even understand what's going on, and they just thought, if I take this pile of cash and hand it to someone else, that someone else is going to take care of it. They're going to do all the magic that's supposed to happen, and then I'm going to get more customers. And then on the opposite extreme, I've met people who are trying to optimize every single word. And when I say every word, I literally mean every single word. And they thought they had to measure everything down to the word. And usually for most small business owners, the pendulum shouldn't swing clear to the I don't know anything, and it shouldn't swing clear to the measuring every single word. Most of the time, there's a nice, happy medium spot where you should be sitting. I don't know if you've ever been one to go to the gym or exercise, that kind of stuff, but there's kind of a bit of an analogy I've seen where I've seen literally people who will go out. I love cycling, and I've got a road bike, and I'd go and spend hours cycling around, and I would see people who would literally go out and buy this most expensive road bike. And then they're buying all this different gear, and they've got the sensors that tell them how fast their heart's beating, and they've got all this different stuff. And then they get it all out. And like, whew, this is a lot. And then they don't ever use the gear enough to have ever justified the purchase. When you're dropping $10,000 on a bike and then you ride it once, you could have easily just rented a bike and gotten the same result and saved yourself thousands of dollars. Same kind of thing happens all the time in the SEO world. So some people, again, don't have a clue what to measure, and they don't know where to go. And we're going to talk a little bit more about where to go and how to measure things. But then you've got people who are so obsessed over every detail that they're wasting their time and their energy doing a bunch of stuff that doesn't matter. So what should you be measuring? There's a few things that matter. And in the book, there's a chapter dedicated to talking and teaching about this. But as a short summary, the things that really matter in the SEO world are, you can measure how you're ranking in the search results. So in order to do that, you have to know what searches you care about. So if you're a plumber, you really don't care if you show up at all. If someone types electrician, you don't want to show up for that. So you're not going to care about that search. So you've got to figure out, am I maybe caring about water heater replacements if I'm a plumber? Or maybe it's, I need to do a repipe, and that's what we want to do, is repipe all day long. If those are the kinds of jobs that you like or the kinds of services you like performing, then you figure out what people are typing in, and those are the searches. Oftentimes, whatever it is, if you're looking for local, you're going to care about the service that you like to perform the most and the city that you want to perform that service in. I live in Boise, Idaho. So if I was a plumber, I would care about repipes, Boise. And that would probably be the #1 search term I would care about. So then I'd have to figure out, how do I measure where I'm ranking for that? And there's all kinds of paid tools. You can go out and spend a fortune on that. If you're just getting started and you don't have a big budget, don't spend a fortune on it. Go to Google Search Console, sign up for an account there, and then sign up for Google Analytics. Pair those two things together. They're both free tools, and they're going to give you a ton of data. But it's going to now give you a sense of where, if you go to Search Console, there's a section, and again, we talk a little bit about that in the book. There's a section in there where you can go in and figure out what you're showing up for. Now, what's really cool, you go in, you figure out the things that you want to show up for, see if you're showing up. Now, in the future, if you do any kind of things that relate to SEO, you can go back into Search Console, say, okay, back here, maybe when I started, it was January 1st. January 1st, I was showing up on average 60th place for that. I've done all these SEO things. How am I showing up? Now it's a couple months later, and you can see where you're showing up. Now, that's a good tool that you can use. Don't obsess over it, because it's far better to be doing stuff than just obsessing over your numbers. But it's critical to also know your numbers, because if you're doing all these SEO things and it's been months and you aren't getting any result from it, stop doing it. But the number one metric, far and away more important than Google Analytics, Google Search Console, any paid tool, is, are you tracking where your customers come from? If, for example, you find out 90% of my customers all come from John, who's referring business to me, and Sally, who's referring business to me, before you spend a ton of time on SEO, maybe you should make sure that you've got strong, powerful relationships with John and Sally. And if you're like, oh, you know what, Bob could also send me a bunch of traffic, maybe you want to chase building that relationship with Bob. But if you are tracking where every single lead comes in, as you start doing SEO actions in your business, you'll also be able to start attributing and saying, wow, in the month of January, I had 0 people come to me and say they found me online. In the month of February, I had 2. That's some evidence it's working. March, we're up to 5. Yes, I'm going to keep doing these things because I've tracked the numbers and I know it's starting to generate results. Or you'll know I need to pivot because it's been a couple of months and I'm not getting results. So today's lesson, make sure you're not swinging your pendulum to one extreme of knowing nothing on data, or swing to the other extreme of knowing so much data that it takes all your time, energy, and effort, and you're spending way more time, energy, and effort than you're getting results back from studying your data. Keep it somewhere in the middle, but you have to know your data, and the best place to know it, again, understanding where your customer's coming from. And then if you want a free tool, go to Google Search Console, go Google Analytics, install them, start monitoring that data, record where you're at, and then see the progress. Tune in again for the next lesson.